In this video, we're going to talk about what becoming a coach is going to demand of you. We'll talk about what your clients will demand from you and what society is going to demand from you. I mean, let's face it, the coaching industry has been changed forever. And if you don't really have true, authentic leadership, you just can't make it. And in this video, I want to break down what that means as far as you sharing your message, you becoming visible, all the things related to marketing. And if you don't get this piece, doesn't even matter if you have all the content down, if you know about the funnels, all that stuff is going to be obsolete. This is the thing that your clients will demand from you.
Pretty much everybody is demanding comfort. They're demanding the lack of fears. They are demanding the lack of conflict. And at the same time, they're demanding something new. That's in general. That's life in general. And in coaching specifically, it's probably worse. In coaching, it's worse, I think, because coaching brings us, like when we are the product, it brings us face to face with all of our fears, with all of our inadequacies, with our fear of visibility. And because of that, our need for discomfort is higher. You know, in life, if you're not trying to build a business and if you're not the product, in life, if you just want to evolve in your relationships or your body or whatever it is that you want to evolve in, there's a level of discomfort that you have to move through, and it's really about breaking old patterns. But in this world, in this game of becoming a coach, that is there also. That's just the normal breaking of patterns. But on top of that, you're exposing yourself to the world. And one of the things that we hear all the time is the phrase, putting myself out there, right? And there's a reason that almost everybody uses that phrase. It's because it's scary as hell to most people to put themselves out there. Most of us would rather be in here than out there. Out there is scary. Out there is opening up the door where it's all safe and warm and cushy inside, and going outside and you don't know what's out there. That's where the danger is. We create houses to keep ourselves safe. We create buildings and shelters and all those things to keep us inside and safe from the harm of the outside world. And then in coaching, we're going to intentionally break out of our shelter and brave the elements of visibility, spotlight, judgment, imperfection, public humiliation. I mean, all those things that most of us are trying to protect, because at one point in time, visibility became dangerous. And ever since that time, we've been trying to protect ourselves by being less visible. Every single one of us has a version of that story. Now, some people will want to be visible, but not by themselves, or not as themselves, rather. This is very common for actors, actresses, comedians, entertainers of some kind. A lot of entertainers become visible and they get very successful being visible, but not vulnerable, not authentic. And not that everybody does that. There are some entertainers that do have the guts, the bravery, the courage to be authentic, and they transcend their art because of that vulnerability. But most of us have decided at one point in time, if we're visible, we're vulnerable. If we're vulnerable, we can get hurt. So it's easier to not be visible. And then we want to build a coaching business, which requires marketing, which requires visibility. So we've got this perpetual conflict of craving the success, the visibility, the clients, the money, all those things that require the thing that we're afraid of. So we're craving and fearing the same thing simultaneously. Now, the fears of visibility are lodged in our body. The goals of visibility are only theoretical in our mind. So we tell ourselves, if we go out there, then we can get clients, we can be successful, we can book ourselves on stages, we can do all these things. Those are all theory. The body goes, last time we were visible, we got hurt, we beat ourselves up, it didn't feel good, so I'm going to go ahead and go with what I know rather than what you're telling me. And this is an embodied conflict here. This is an embodied fear that we have. So in coaching, this idea of moving beyond our comfort zone is magnified a lot more than this concept in the normal world of just personal development. So if you want to build something you haven't had before in business or in your life or in finances, success of any kind, you are disrupting the old. You're not wanting the old anymore. Whatever the current state is, the old patterns, the old foundation, you're wanting to disrupt that. If you're wanting to change your circumstances, you can't change without disruption. You're literally shifting the foundation that you're on. And in order to do that, there's a requirement. Now, I'm not saying this is an invitation for you to embrace this. What I'm saying is this is a requirement. You either play by the rules or you stop playing the game. You don't change the rules of the game. That's what most people are doing. They want the outcome of playing the game, but they don't want to play by the rules of the game because the rules are are uncomfortable. The rules cause feelings that they don't want. The rules means that they're going to experience things that don't match the expectations. But this world of transformational coaching of any kind and any depth requires discomfort of the new. It requires you to confront whatever is in your way, whether it's intellectual fears of strategy or embodied fears of visibility or a little bit of both, which is where almost all of us reside, is a little bit of both, or a lot of one and a little of the other. Or maybe it might feel like a lot of both of them, but the reality is this is the game. And the quicker you embrace the rules of the game, the quicker you'll go. The more that you try to change the rules of the game so that it matches your expectation, the slower you'll go. It's just that simple. So when I posted about discomfort yesterday in the group, I was just thinking about how many people I see, either in our groups or other groups or people that I talk to in this industry, that are successful in what I know behind the scenes. Either I talk to them or I know because I know people who know them or what have you. What I know is that behind the scenes, pretty much every single one of them who are doing it in a vulnerable way are scared as hell. They're scared. I mean, people like Jack Canfield's been in this game for almost 50 years. He's one of the godfathers of this whole thing. I've had personal discussions with him about what makes him uncomfortable still to this day. And yet, most people are expecting all of their discomfort to go away in a matter of weeks or months or even just a few years. Jack Canfield has 65 best-selling books on the New York Times bestsellers list. He's literally made hundreds of millions of dollars, changed the entire game, gets paid asinine amounts of money to take the stage. He's spent time, been invited by some of the most powerful people on the planet, and he has not gotten rid of his discomfort. What in the hell makes us think that we can, when we don't have anywhere near the list of accomplishments? So this is a mind game. It requires discomfort. So one of the things that we are going to do in this group is we're going to change the definition of success and progress, and we are going to use discomfort as a reason to lean forward, not as a reason to lean backward. You must lean into the discomfort because you cannot be uncomfortable with something you don't care about. If you really want to create an impact in your business, if you really want to help people, that desire to help up against the desire to stay safe is what creates the discomfort. There must be two opposing forces for the discomfort. So please, my invitation to you is never again use any kind of uncomfortable emotion or uncomfortable state or uncomfortable thoughts as a reason not to. This, I promise you, this knocks out 98% of everybody in this industry. They don't understand this, or they understand it intellectually, but they don't act like they understand it because they still hide behind their fears. They still hide behind their discomfort as a reason to not do the videos. I don't want to do the videos because I'm uncomfortable on video. Okay, how are you going to move through that without doing the videos? Whatever creates the discomfort is where the comfort is going to come from. But as soon as you create comfort by challenging the thing that you were uncomfortable doing, I promise you the next step will then create more discomfort. So you have to embrace in this world of coaching, you have to embrace that when you are creating discomfort, you are doing the right thing. You are doing something good. So please create it as often as you possibly can. One of the reasons why we have the support in this group, in the Facebook group, and why I'm going to ask you to get into accountability groups, and why I'm going to later on teach you about mastermind groups, is because this is what kills most dreams in this industry, I promise you. But the intellect has convinced us that the reason we're not successful is because we need more information. We need to be informed more. And if we need to be informed more, then that means that we're not smart enough as we are. So the intellect will send us on this path of never-ending searching to keep us inside our shelter. And yet outside the shelter are the people that are waiting for you. That's why I asked you to write a letter from your seeker. They're outside the shelter. They're asking you, please do whatever you have to do. Move through whatever you have to move through. Put yourself on the operating table and get whatever that needs to be done inside your body, inside your mind, taken care of, because I'm out here freezing. I'm out here dying. I'm out here not knowing what to do. I'm out here lost. And you're in there concerned about the judgments of these other people that don't give a about you and you don't give a about. And you're not concerned about me. You're worried about the approval and the judgments of all these other people. I'm out here waiting for you. That's why this seeker work is so important, because what we are concerned about are the opinions of people that will not be in our path. The opinions of people that we don't resonate with, that don't resonate for us. They weren't assigned to us and we weren't assigned to them. Why in the world do we care then about their opinions? It's the human journey. And this journey is only for the people. This journey being making an impact as a coach, making an impact as a transformational agent, having somebody tell you, thank you for doing what you did. Thank you for that video. Thank you for that post. Thank you for this program. Thank you for your coaching. Thank you. Because of that, my life is different. Because of that, I stopped beating my child. Because of that, I didn't kill myself when I had it all planned out. Thank you for doing that work. Because of that, you shifted my experience on this planet. Those people are waiting for you, and you have what it takes to help them, but only if you are willing to do this work. See, I think most people, I'm a coaching geek. I'm a coaching snob. I get pissed when people think they're just going to jump into this industry and call themselves a coach and then learn how to pull money out of people's wallets by teaching them how to make money. It's all incestuous to me. It's all like a pyramid scheme to me. And I think that it's disrespectful to this industry. See, I think this industry is sacred. I think this industry is what's going to save this planet. It's what's going to save individuals and collectively humanity. It has the potential to save humanity. You're not just going to do this by jumping in, throwing your hat in the ring, learning how to put up a funnel somewhere, and all of a sudden you're going to jump into this industry unprepared to help people and achieve what's available to achieve, but it's only reserved for the people that put in enough time, that deserve to help others, that have the body to help others. This is not a deserve level for you. This is a deserve from the sense of how big are the mountains that you've climbed? How much time have you put in? You've heard me say this all the time now over the last several weeks, and you'll hear this over and over and over again. How much time have you been clocked in and caped up? How much time have you been studying your speaker? How much time have you been putting into the game? Those are the hours that matter. I'm listening to a song now just like on repeat. Not now, right now, but now when I'm going to the gym, when I'm walking around, when I'm getting ready. And there's a line in this song, I don't even know the exact lyrics. But he says, I remember the shows that nobody came to. And that opens me up every time I hear it, because I remember the webinars nobody came to. I remember the events nobody came to. I remember the events that I had planned out up in Canada that all got canceled. I remember people judging me for whatever it is that I was doing because they didn't think I knew what I was talking about. And back then I believed them more than I believed me. I remember the times that I didn't know if I was going to make it. I remember those times when I just had to go 1 second more like Scott on the mountain. I remember those times when nothing worked out the way I wanted it to work out. That's when I that's when I put in the time that caused me to deserve the success that most of the other people do not deserve, because they didn't unconditionally commit. And so when you put out a Facebook post, when you put out a webinar, when you put out an event and almost nobody comes, 4 people come and you thought 30 were going to come, or whatever your expectations were or not met, that's the time you have to lean in more. That's the time that some point in the future, you're going to look back and go, that's where I got my value. I got my value because when things weren't working out, I kept climbing anyway. That's what this world needs. That's what this market needs, especially in the hyper distraction of all the marketing that I've alluded to. We need people that give a damn so much that they're unconditionally committed to doing this work for the sake of doing this work, singing their song for the sake of singing their song, not because somebody's going to listen to it and say, I like your song. Your value, you guys, your value that will translate into money, that will translate into impact, that will translate into clients, that value is created when the room is dark and nobody can hear you and you feel like crying or you are crying. That's when your value is actually created. And step number 1 in this process is become valuable. Become valuable, then become visible, and then become valued by clients, by customers. You become valuable by doing this work when people aren't listening, when people aren't commenting, when the only ones that are paying attention are the lurkers that are not letting you know they're paying attention. That's when you earn your value that's waiting for you in the future. But the more that the road has to look the way you hope the road looks, the more conditional your commitment is. And I had such a clear vision. I've been talking about this, even this analogy here and there, off and on, but I had such a clear vision this morning when I woke up. And I almost there's a part of me that wants to like drive to an airport and film a video. And I'll probably film this video next time I'm in an airport with somebody that can hold a camera for me. But, you know, in the airport, they've got those long, gigantic walkways, right? And if you want to go faster, you can get on the moving walkway and walk on the moving walkway and go faster. But the image that I had based on this discussion and getting ready for this call is we are getting on the walkway that's going the opposite direction. And you have to move a certain amount just to stay at the same place. You have to walk at a certain pace to stand still according to the world. In this marketing world, with all the people that are competing, with all the sharks, with all the money that's being spent, with all the people that are getting really, really good at pulling people's money out of their wallets and they're traumatizing people, with all of that going on around you, if you're walking at a slow pace, there's a point where you can just walk fast enough to stay still, but everybody else is on the other pathway that's actually moving. So staying still is falling behind. Standing still is falling behind. And you have to move at a certain pace just to stand still. So if you're walking at the break-even pace where you're standing still, you're falling behind. You've got to walk faster than that. And you've got to walk fast against the walkway that's going in the opposite direction. And pretty soon, when you start to build the body for this work that you're doing, what will happen is the walkway will slow down going against you. And at a certain point, the walkway will then stop moving against you. And then at a further point, the walkway will actually start moving with you. But most people aren't willing to go through all those levels of conflict, all those levels of discomfort, all those levels of evolution. They just expect the moving walkway to take them without doing much of anything because moving is uncomfortable. So here's what I promise you. I promise you the path will not be what you want. I promise you the path will not be what you hope it is. I promise you the path will not be what you envision it to be. I promise you the path will not be guarded by your intellect and play out the way it's supposed to play out for you. And I promise you that if you stay true to your calling and your purpose and your song, then what's down the path for you is something that is so unimaginable that you can't even currently contemplate what's waiting for you. It's literally impossible. You cannot see it. And what's out there is so much better than what you think should be out there at this comfortable path. It's staggering. But you have to earn it. In this phase of this curriculum, in this program, there's a lot of cutting your teeth. There's a lot of getting in motion and learning the lessons of being in motion and going through the process for the sake of the process, not for the outcome. And during this phase, it's critical that you have enough clarity to get in motion, not clarity to get it right. We talked about that at the live event. You need clarity to get in motion because here's why. When you are in unconditional commitment and you're taking unconditionally committed action toward your vision, then what happens is your higher power, your creator, God, the universe, whatever label you want to put on it is fine. Your purpose, this higher wisdom that you have that knows where you're meant to be, will start guiding you, but you have to be in motion first. where you are right now on the planet is roughly 5.5 to 6 foot perspective above the ground. So if you're looking from your intellectual perspective and you're seeing what you want the landscape to be, and you're seeing what it currently is, and you're deciding what moves you have to make, you can't even see above a 6 foot wall, let alone a 10-foot wall or a 20-foot wall. And most of these walls are like 50 feet. So you can't see above the wall to see what's waiting for you on the other side. All you see is this side of the walls that are perceived to be around you. And you're operating with an intellectual perspective that is however tall you are minus a few inches. That's your perspective of the landscape. Well, we all have a wiser perspective. We all have God's perspective. We all have a much higher perspective from the universe that's looking down at us, and we can see the whole maze. We can see from above the walls, and we can see where this person, us, is meant to be over there, but unfortunately they can't see it because they got all these walls in front of them. From this perspective, as long as the person, us, is in motion, then this perspective, the universe, other people's energy, law of attraction, whatever you want to call this force, will guide you to the steps that you need to make, but you can't see these steps unless you're in motion. And I think that you don't deserve to get the answers unless you're in motion, unless you're willing to go head first into whatever the obstacles that you are that are perceived to be. Unless you're willing to go head first, you don't deserve the answers that are going to take you where you want to go. Most of us are just like this, demanding, why don't you tell me the answers that are going to take me where I want to go? God, universe, I'm going to sit here until you give me what I'm looking for. I'm going to sit here until you give me the answers, the signals, the solutions, the message, until you give me what my intellect says is the right thing, because I know much better than you do. I've got this path laid out. My intellect has spent all kinds of time on this. My intellect has designed a perfectly cemented path with no bumps. And unless you give that to me, and unless you prove to me that 4 steps down the path, 10 steps down the path, you won't mess this up for me. You won't disrupt this for me. You won't move the path at all. This path isn't going to have any cracks in it. I'm not going to have anybody trying to push me off this path. Unless you can give me a proven, guaranteed plan that helps me know that this path is the one that's for me, that this path is the one that I'll be able to walk without shoes because there's no glass, there's no bumps, there's no danger on that path. Unless you show me that, I'm going to stay right here. That's what most people are doing. When we get into unconditional commitment, what happens is our wisdom, our creator, and our purpose see where we need to go, see what we need to learn. See, we don't have the current embodied lessons for our purpose. That's much bigger than what we are creating right now. If we had the lessons, we would already have that purpose. So we need to be prepared from an embodied standpoint for the purpose that is waiting for us, for the purpose that has been assigned to our soul, not assigned to our intellect. Nothing is assigned to our intellect. Our intellect creates stuff on its own. But for us to be pulled toward the purpose that is assigned to us, we need lessons. We need to learn certain things about ourselves, about life, about success, about coaching, about whatever it is that we need to learn. We all have different lessons because we all have a different version of a similar purpose, which is to have an impact on this planet. But we need to be in motion for us to get those lessons. And in our community, we just call that dropping packages. When we're in motion, then the universe will drop packages to us. And then it's our job to unwrap the package and say, what do I need to learn from this person? What do I need to learn from this failure? What do I need to learn from this detour? But those packages will only be dropped if we are in uncommitted, action, unconditional commitment, action toward our purpose that we can see right now. So the purpose of clarity is to get in motion. The purpose of motion is to get into action so that we can get the packages dropped, so that we can learn the lessons that we don't currently have in our awareness, in our mindset, in our state, in our neurology, to prepare us further for the assignment that we have on our soul. That's the purpose of clarity. The purpose of clarity is not to be right. The purpose of clarity is to get in motion. The purpose of motion is to get into action. The purpose of action is so that the packages will come down. And the purpose of the packages is that we unwrap it and we learn the lessons that will move us beyond our current obstacles. I want this analogy to stay with you. It's a new analogy for me. I want this analogy to stay with you because in this phase of getting valuable, your intellect will demand clarity of being right, and that does not exist.
Now, if you like this video, check out that video. It's the entire first content module from the Foundations of Marketing for Coaches program, where we break down how to identify your ideal client.
One of the reasons that I jumped on the soapbox at the beginning of this call is because I know what this exercise does to people.